the season, my playing time definitely looked different than it did at the end. So trusting that, I was staying ready, putting in the work so that when I did get the minutes out on the court, that I could take full advantage of them. So I was just really proud of myself for trusting the process and staying the course.
Erica Wheeler started swapping outfits. So where did that idea come from?
Our styles are so drastically different. So we were just joking, like, I wonder what it would look like if you could pull it off. And the first outfit was something so outside of what I would have ever picked out of my closet. And I was like, that's not going to look good on me. I'm like, all right, let's try. So then I tried it on and everyone was like, you pull it off, you pull it off. So then it just became part of the pregame tradition. And it's a really fun, lighthearted way to just, get us.
Under Coach Christy Sides, Lexie Hull wasn't shining under the spotlight. She was glued to the bench, collecting splinters instead of minutes. While other role players climbed the ladder, her career felt stuck in neutral. And whispers started swirling. Was Hull really going to prove she belonged, or was she about to be remembered as another bust left behind? Then came the shockwave. Caitlin Clark, a once-in-a-generation star who didn't just adjust Indiana's game plan, she flipped the entire franchise upside down. Clark's presence wasn't just about points. It was raw electricity on the court. The second she landed in Indiana, the offense had purpose. The chemistry lit up, and suddenly every player's role changed overnight. For Hull, this wasn't just a new teammate. It was a lifeline, the difference between fading out at the end of the bench and grabbing a second chance at greatness. Fans felt the energy too, and just like that, her name was buzzing again. Show some love for Lexie in the comments by dropping Lexie Show. And Hull didn't play coy. In her chats with She's for Sports and the Dunker Spot, she laid it all out. No sugarcoating, no filters. She revealed how Clark's arrival didn't just bring highlights. It transformed careers, flipped the locker room vibe, and forced everyone to level up. What's happening in Indiana isn't just a winning streak. It's one of the wildest basketball makeovers we've ever seen. This story isn't just about Hull's comeback. It's about redemption, leadership, and a culture shift that could change the entire future of the Fever. The start of 2024 was flat-out brutal for Lexie Hull. For all her Stanford stardom and that shiny draft resume, she couldn't even crack the regular rotation. Katie Lou Samuelson, Christy Wallace, players nowhere near her ceiling, were eating up her minutes while Hull sat wrapped in a towel, frustration bubbling over every single night. That drop was more than tough. It was crushing. From college star to bench warmer in Indiana, the fall wasn't just physical, it was a mental smack that hit her pride hard. And as Hull wrestled with doubt, the whole Fever squad was crumbling too. The team stumbled out of the gate with a pitiful 1-8 start, a record so ugly fans in Indy were begging for answers. And answers? None in sight. Headlines ripped the Fever apart for weak rotations, a defense full of holes, and team chemistry so toxic it was painful to watch. Inside the locker room, every player felt the pressure. But for Hull, stuck on the sideline powerless, the fight wasn't just about playing time. It was about hanging on to her confidence while the entire ship looked like it was sinking. But Lexie Hull wasn't about to let her name fade into draft bust territory. No way! She doubled down on the grind, sharpened her movement, tightened up her jumper, and stayed ready for any chance to prove herself. Through the chaos, a few teammates kept their quiet faith in her, and that support became fuel. Hull locked in, and she wasn't about to waste it. Then came the game changer, Caitlin Clark. The second she stepped into that locker room, it was like somebody flipped the power switch. Practices weren't dragging anymore. They were electric. The intensity was back, fans started flooding arenas, and suddenly the Indiana Fever weren't the league's punchline. They were the must-see show of the season. Clark brought fire, an edge, and a competitive drive so sharp it forced everybody around her to raise their game. Hull couldn't help but laugh as she told it. We play against guys in practice, and if they're not winning, Caitlin's going to do everything she can to make sure they're competing. That's not just hype. That's transformation in real time. And Clark's impact went way deeper than flashy highlights. She rolled in with a basketball brain working on fast forward, dissecting defenses like a seasoned quarterback, threading impossible passes through windows teammates didn't even know existed. For Hull, it felt like she had unlocked a cheat code. Suddenly, she was catching the ball wide open, sliding into scoring spots she'd never even dreamed of before. And just like that, her role flipped overnight. "She's making passes I didn't even think were possible," Hull admitted, and she meant it. Clark's pull on defenders was like a magnet, and her vision ripped defenses wide open, creating opportunities her teammates had never seen before. Overnight, Indiana's offense stopped looking stuck in mud. It was running smooth, fast, and dangerous like a machine built to win. Clark's fire spread through the roster like wildfire. Her hunger to compete lit a spark under everybody, and players who once doubted their own ceilings suddenly believed they could stand toe-to-toe with the best. Clark didn't just bring buckets, she brought belief. And for Hull, that belief was the difference between fading out and leveling up. Her leadership and maturity hit the locker room like a shockwave, instantly lifting morale and setting a brand new standard. And soon, those sparks started showing up on the hardwood. The Fever began finding rhythm, turning into a dangerous, locked-in squad that nobody could ignore anymore. Hull said it best herself, "The game becomes so much more fun when you know you're cutting with a real chance to make a play." And Clark gave her that chance. She wasn't just another hyped rookie. She was a true game changer, flipping careers like Hull's in real time. But here's the million-dollar question. Was that surge of energy enough to rescue Indiana's season? That answer wouldn't come overnight.
Well, part of the transition is really tough. Everybody out on the court was one of the best players on their college teams, definitely the best player, likely from their high school team. So it's just this mishmash of the best basketball players, and then you're playing against people that have been there for years and years.
It would reveal itself in the grind of the coming weeks. And the real magic? It didn't happen under bright lights or highlight reels. It went down behind closed doors in the brutal grind of practice. Hull admitted those sessions weren't drills anymore. They had turned into straight-up battles. Scrimmages turned into all-out wars because Caitlin Clark demanded it. If a set fell apart, she wasn't letting it slide. She stopped everything and forced it to be fixed right there. No excuses, no shortcuts, no place to hide. Her fire set the bar sky high, and the rest of the roster had two choices: rise with her or get left in the dust. Even the coaches couldn't ignore it anymore. Practices that used to drag suddenly had teeth, and out of that grind, a brand new team identity was being built. For Hull, that shift wasn't just about the Fever, it hit deep and personal. She locked in on the details, sharpening her cuts, chasing consistency in her jumper, and refusing to fade into the background. She even opened up about it. "During the Olympic break, we had a full month of practice. Seeing those shooting percentages climb gave me the belief I needed that work in the dark pays off in the light. That grind in silence turned into proof she was ready to shine when it mattered most." By the time the second half of the season tipped off, Hull wasn't just a warm body on the bench anymore. She had carved herself a real role in Indiana's offense, showing she belonged in the heart of the mix. And none of this happens without Caitlin Clark's presence. Her gravity on the floor bent defenses until they broke, handing Hull wide open runways to score. "Kelsey and Caitlin attract so much attention," Hull admitted, "that it frees players like me to cut and find openings." And those openings, they weren't wasted. Hull's shots started dropping, her percentages climbed, and with every bucket, her confidence exploded sky high. Out of nowhere, Hull wasn't just surviving minutes, she was stepping up in clutch moments, hitting big shots and making key plays when the game was on the line. Indiana wasn't stumbling anymore. The Fever were surging with real momentum. As the wins stacked up, the chemistry was impossible to miss. "We never turned on each other," Hull revealed. "That unity, that mindset, that's what pulled us through the tough stretches." And fans felt it too. Arenas that once had empty rows were suddenly packed wall to wall, and social media exploded with clips, hype, and non-stop love for this reborn Fever squad. Hull described the rush of playing in front of a sold-out Indiana crowd like pure adrenaline. "It gave us a type of energy we hadn't felt in years." It's hard to put into words how much it meant that roar wasn't just noise, it was fuel, lifting the team higher every night. Indianapolis, a city desperate for a winner, was buzzing again, alive with belief, and Hull had fought her way right into the heart of it all. This wasn't just a comeback story, it was a warning shot to the league. With Clark running the show and Hull blossoming into a weapon, the Fever weren't just chasing a playoff berth. They were smashing through the old ceiling of what this franchise could be. The only question now, could they keep that magic alive once the pressure and expectations got heavier than ever? Off the floor, the rise was just as wild. Players like Hull suddenly found themselves living in a whole new reality. A simple grocery run in Indianapolis could flip into a surprise autograph session. Faces that once blended into the crowd were now plastered on billboards and city walls like hometown celebrities. Exciting? No doubt. But overwhelming? Absolutely. Because fame, as Hull learned quick, cuts both ways. Every game turned into fuel for online breakdowns. Her shots, her defense, even her facial expressions were picked apart. A loss brought a storm of criticism, and a win? That only stacked up the pressure with brand new expectations. Social media became both her boost and her burden. On good nights, the comments fired her up. But after tough losses, the avalanche of noise tested her resolve like never before. Scrolling through the chaos was a daily reminder of how heavy the spotlight had grown. It's part of the job, but it's not easy, Hull admitted, giving fans a raw look at the emotional toll of sudden stardom. Through it all, the Fever leaned on one another harder than ever. Their locker room wasn't just where plays got drawn up. It became a safe zone, a sanctuary from the outside chaos. Inside those walls, the focus stayed locked on growth, resilience, and real trust.
Role is just getting to the open spots, and we have such a good offense that people find the open person. So to be that open person, you get excited. You get excited for the opportunity to shoot and score and be part of the momentum.
That culture, built on accountability and unshakable support, gave the squad the backbone to survive a season that tested every single one of them. They didn't just survive the spotlight, they learned how to own it. The Indiana Fever's rise has been nothing short of stunning. From bottom of the barrel to one of the most talked about squads in all of basketball, they proved that grit, unity, and raw belief can flip the whole story upside down. And right at the center of it was Lexie Hull's personal comeback. Her patience, her grind, and her refusal to fold didn't just save her career, it fueled Indiana's shocking turnaround. She showed that when one player refuses to break, the entire team can rise with her. But Hull never hid the truth. Caitlin Clark was the spark that lit it all. She's not just another star, she's a force that drags everyone around her to a higher level. Clark lifted the entire franchise on and off the floor, Hull confessed, and she meant every word. Indiana's rise wasn't only about wins and losses, it was about identity. Sold-out arenas, fans screaming with pride, and a team culture built on accountability instead of excuses. All of it set the stage for something bigger than just basketball. Hull nailed it when she said, "We're not just playing for ourselves, we're playing for something bigger." And the future? It's looking flat-out dangerous for the rest of the league.
It was important to get to know her off the court because I do think that, connections, getting to know people really play a part in the success of teams.
With Clark running the show, Hull shining in her role, and talents like Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell ready to take over, the Fever aren't just contenders anymore. They're turning into a full-on powerhouse in the making. But don't get it twisted, this is only the beginning. Indiana has already proven they can take hits, push through adversity, and come back stronger than ever. The real question now, can they make that leap from hungry contenders to true WNBA elite? That's the storyline every fan is glued to right now. So what do you think? Are the Fever ready to lock themselves in as one of the league's great teams? Show your support for Lexie in the comments by dropping Lexie Show. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and smash the notification bell so you never miss a second of this ride. Click the video on your screen, and we'll catch you in the next one.